Yay Networks.
Welcome to another episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. I'm your host, Dr. Rod Riabon. And this week's episode is about branding. That's right, branding. The question, actually, I'm joined today by Sarah, a patient of mine who's actually, who has undergone several procedures with me. And in conversating, she happens to be an individual who her whole career is about brands and branding. And actually, it was her idea and her mentioning of my brand, which, interestingly enough, I've always subconsciously been thinking about, but not consciously discussed until she brought it up as to, hey, I love your brand. As a brand expert, when I chose you, I thought of your brand. What made your brand? How did you? And she started asking me these questions, and I was like, okay, I've never actually thought about that. So we're going to go off course a little bit than the usual plastic surgery, procedural, don't do this, don't do that, stay out of trouble. And we're going to have a conversation about brands and plastic surgery because it was interesting. Indirectly, it's educational because plastic surgeons are the master of marketing, right? That's what we do. We give you the essence that we are celebrity plastic surgeons. And we have this aura and we build this brand. And the question is the brand authentic? Are you truly that way, or is it just a facade? So welcome to the show, Sarah.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk about branding with one of my favorite people.
All right. Well, we love it. Well, thank you for being on the show, A. B, I like the idea. When you threw it out there, I was like, oh, cool. So hopefully people will enjoy the concept because I think it's relevant in that I think one of the biggest pitfalls, dangers, quicksands of plastic surgery is getting sucked into the branding of your surgeon because often it's not authentic and it's not real. So you stated to me that because you know it, I mean, you do brands all day long, right? You're trying to bring brand awareness and refine brands on a daily basis. And then here you are looking for a plastic surgeon, and you can't just suddenly delete all that brand knowledge, right? It's in your it's in your head. So you're looking at surgeons with this brand background. Tell me a little about how you experienced our brand, because I've never actually had anyone tell me that. So you tell me your brand analysis.
Brand analysis. All right. So here we are. It's beginning of 2020. COVID's happening. We're all on our phones. We can't leave our houses. I start thinking about improving on some certain things. I go into Instagram. There is Dr. Rabad. So I'm like, wow, mommy makeover. Wow, rhinoplasty. Wow, he's in Beverly Hills. I'm in San Diego. Let's look at his results. Right. So you're always looking for the results when you're looking for plastic surgeons, huh? So I'm looking through there and I realized that you had a brand, you had an aesthetic to you that was very similar to mine. Because when you're doing branding and marketing, you're trying to look for something in that brand or marketing, campaign that is resonating with you. That's what it's about. It's nurturing, it's resonating. And I saw a lot of myself in you and your brand. And that's very unique for a plastic surgeon. What you have is art. And I love that about you. That's exactly what drew me in, was artistry.
Well, I love that it was one of the elements that brought you in. I think that, what people, when I built this practice, and I built it, I built it from ground up. It was zero, zilch, nada, not a logo, not a nothing. When I built this practice and have been building, because it's a constant evolution of building over the last, 17 or plus years, I always had a basic principle. And my principle, or my mantra, was knowledge is power. I'm a educator. I'm academic. I'm pretty transparent. And so I always try to make sure whatever came out of our practice, whatever, a flyer back in the day, a post, I'm always very conscientious that it's consistent with what our messaging is. So much so that even social media, whenever we have someone help us with something, I'm overseeing even the smallest elements because I don't want it ever to be discongruent with our messaging. So when it came to the website, right, I met a web designer and I helped design the entire website. No surprise, from the logo, which we had well established, to the font, to the flow of information, where things sit, and most importantly, the content. Now, a lot of plastic surgery sites have copy. All the stuff that's in there, the content is just copied. So you get a professional writer. You're shaking your head, Sarah, because you know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
And
I'm living.
right, and you go get someone to rewrite basically the same shit that everybody writes, except you change it enough that you can't. It doesn't trigger copyright, and that the bots on Google don't see it as the same. Because if you ever copy anything, you get penalized for it on a social SEO standpoint. But I wrote all the damn copy, all of it.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
painful. Now I didn't write it; I dictated it because I'm a terrible typer. But I wanted the content to be original, and I wanted it to be me, my words, how I speak. I speak the way I speak. Somebody speaks a different way. And I like the directness of the information. So the website is full of original content. And, people don't spend a lot of time on websites anymore. They're more hummingbird method, just image, 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 select a guy. But back in the day, websites were your business card, right? People spent hours on websites. So I spent a lot of time. Then it was about making sure that they were able to see what I had to offer. And it was all about your showcase, your window, right? A department store has a window, and the window has got a window display. So when it came to my gallery, because I love photography, I was like a photography Nazi. I wouldn't let it. I took every photo.
Really?
That's right, really. All those before and afters, I took every goddamn photo in a room with strobe lights, the whole shebang. Because as a patient, you want to see in your privacy of your home the noses and the breasts and the whatever. And you want to be able to envision and extrapolate. So many of the websites have shitty photos. So wait, you are selling outcomes. That's what you sell. It's like going to a car dealership and all the cars are dirty. I'm selling results. This is my work. Here, take a look at my work. And then the way you display your work is through photos, and your photos are shitty. Okay, that's not very good. So since I love photography and I couldn't find anyone to shoot the photographs, like my staff are lovely, but they're not photographers. Their photos were willy wonk. So I had no choice. I had to take all the photos. So the gallery I designed, because the way you go through the photos is important. So a lot of patients know that when they go to a gallery, they want to scroll through 50, 60 photos, right? You don't want to look at one tummy tuck. You want to look at 40 tummy tucks. And how the user experience is matters, right? I want to be able to scroll through quickly. That's why people love social media. It's quick. But websites are inherently not quick. So I created a gallery that I felt allowed you to see all the images at once. In one click, you could see 100 images, whereas normally you have to go through one by one by one. So the gallery was a huge, huge element of my website, which is at the end of the day, this what you were talking about, which is your calling card is the images. And then you said you started on social media, right?
I started on social media, went right to your link on the website.
Okay, so tell me about your because I have a whole, again, when it goes to the brand, I'm very, very opinionated about our social media. But go ahead and tell me your experience as it applied as a brand sensitive individual with our social media page.
Right. So the first thing that I pick up on when I'm looking at social media branding is congruency. Is everything cohesive? Are we following a certain formula? Of course, as a branding person, I'm going to dissect that. And everything with your site, your copy, your photos, it is all cohesive. You have a formula and you don't Photoshop. If you be surprised
Ever.
out there, doctor, right? You don't. I can tell right away because that's what I do for a living. I see what Photoshop's done. And this, I was like, you're genuine with your copy, you're genuine with your photos, and you post often, and everything is beautifully branded. And I knew, I was like, this man, yes, he's a plastic surgeon, but he's also an artist. And I immediately was like, bing, 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 this guy's got it.
And it's nice, and the reason why I like this conversation, it's nice to be appreciated for that aspect of it, right? Because I do love the artistry. I wanted to be an architect. And so, I love design and copy and spatial planning and all the things that go into artistry. I love it. Now, you assume that every plastic surgeon is an artist. And the reality is it's not the case. A very small subset of people who go and you can't train someone to be an artist. They're either artistic or not. My wife is artistic. She was born artistic. My sister is not artistic. She's just not. You can send her to 1,000 art schools. She's not going to come back as artistic. So it's not as if during plastic surgery selection process, they're testing you to see if you're artistic. Not at all. You could have literally the worst artistic prowess and be a world-renowned plastic surgeon in that you get into Harvard, but you couldn't for the life of you draw a circle if you had to. So it's really funny because you think people are like, oh, plastic surgeons are artists. No, 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 no. They ought to be an artist, but they seldom are actually artists. And you see their artistry in all of that stuff, like beautifully designed websites, very nice, da, da, da. So when it came to our social media, obviously when I was a guppy, me and Sally, my office manager, referred to me as a guppy, as opposed to a shark or a whale, meaning, I was small fries. I managed the social media myself because that's just what I'm a micromanaging kind of guy. But as we got bigger and I needed to allow someone to help me post, although it's all my stuff, it was very difficult for me to allow them to do anything because they were like, God, I manage other accounts. Nobody's so micromanaging. Just post the shit and let's go. No, because it's our content, it's our image, it's our words, and words matter. So all the words that come out of our practice, all of them, I can guarantee you every word that's ever come out of our practice has never been self-promoting. We don't ever want you to come here because I said I'm the best or I know something that someone else doesn't. As a matter of fact, every time we have a podcast, we tell people wherever you are, these are the questions to ask the doctors you go see. Mm-hmm. We don't want anyone to come here because we're the best or world renowned or whatever. We want people to go wherever the hell they want to go, just go empowered and knowledge. So our social media is very carefully curated. And what you're going to notice is there is no cheeseball nature. I am so opposed to the cheesy plastic surgeon. You know what I'm talking about, Sarah?
Oh man, Dr. Ron, do I know? It is the cheesy cheese, and it just makes you cringe. And honestly,
did you come across any of those?
Oh, I sure did. I did my research, and like when I went right to their website or their Instagram, and I saw that cheese, I was out the door. I was like, I don't think so. This isn't for me, and that is why branding matters.
Well, I mean, Cheez-It is a company, and their branding is cheesy. No pun intended.
Man, I don't want no snack crackers.
Right,
I want a
good. But for me, the whole thing. See, we live in a very unique time. Plastic surgeons are surgeons. Surgeons are professionals. Surgeons do heart transplant. Surgeons do burn. Surgeons take care of cancer. We're no different. We're trained. We're very well trained, and we're professionals. Because of social media, plastic surgeons became entertainers. That's the problem. And so many social media accounts by plastic surgeons, TikTok and all this stuff, plastic surgeons have slowly morphed into entertainers. And then you get cheesy because you have to entertain. People don't want to tune in to some boring ass social media page. They want salacious entertainment. So a lot of plastic surgeons, and the beauty is you can graduate and do it immediately, are entertainers. And for me, it was all about content, knowledge, information, teaching. That just happens to be what I like. So we don't do any collaborations, and you will barely ever see an influence. Barely. Actually, you'll never see an influencer on our page. It's not because influencers don't reach out and say, "Hey, Dr. Bond, I love your noses. Would you like to do a collab?" I'd have to reach out, like, what the F is collab? Like, Dr. Bond, they want to collaborate with you. Collaborate with what?
Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Bond, they want you to do their surgery. And then because they have 500,000 followers, 2 million followers, they then will want you, they'll post you and promote you. I was so puzzled by this at the beginning. It's like, well, I don't understand. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? They want you to do it for free and then they'll promote you. And so I get that God knows how many times. And we've never done a collab. It's like, that's the last thing on earth I want to do with you. Besides, your followers, you're in a bikini with your butt showing in a pool. You're going to promote me to whom? Your 2 million male followers that are following you because you're some OnlyFans get page? Like what? The guys are going to come and do their breast dog? What are you talking about? So we don't do collabs. We don't do that. And it's very important to me that we maintain that. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and we'll just chat a little about the other aspects of my brand, I guess. You had mentioned the podcast and some of our videos. And yeah, let's do that when we take a quick break. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Plastic Surgery Uncensored. Welcome back to the second half of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. So we're doing something a bit unorthodox. We're having a conversation about brand, which at first I was like, people aren't going to want to hear that. And then I thought, okay, well, this kind of is kind of a cool concept. Why is it I do what I do and how is it that I put myself out there? And so it turns out that I have a very strong brand identity. You know, Sarah had brought it up to me when we talked. She said, your brand is solid. You had said to me that if we had wanted to hire a consultant, there wasn't really anything for them to do.
Yep.
And that made me happy because I did it sort of unintentionally. I guess it's just that I'm pretty consistent about who I am. So I make sure everything that comes out of our practice has got a sort of a final touch from me. And so I think the culminating element of my brand, so my brand is knowledge is power, which is empowerment through information, was the podcast. This podcast is the birth child of my brand, which is, it is the platform that has allowed me the megaphone from which to share the information I have to the people that need to hear it. Never would I have ever imagined, because I always love, I mean, people come to our consults like, holy shit, you spent an hour with me. You told me so much information. Nobody ever told me that. The last consult was like 3 minutes. And I would do those consults, but I'd be so frustrated. Why would I be frustrated? Because it was one person at a time. I had to tell this goddamn information person by person by person. I wanted a big platform to share this information because I felt it was information that wasn't getting out there. And I thought the information that was getting out there was maybe not explained well. I think there's an art in explaining stuff. There's telling it, and then there's telling it in a way that you're like, oh yeah, I get that. So the podcast for me was like the holy shit, oh my God, wow, you gave me a machine gun, to get this information out. And it really allowed me to finalize my brand in its concept, which is all about, I have all this information about plastic surgery and you're considering plastic surgery and shit, I want to make sure you get it. So the podcast was really important to me. And the beauty of the podcast is I control it, right? I control it in the sense that I know the content that's coming out. You had made some last comment, which we were going to wrap things with, which was a good analogy that you made, which is I built this brand and this brand is reflective of me. And then I build brands and individuals, which I hadn't really thought about it that way. But tell me what that meant to you and how we help build your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I talk to people, just like in this style, and we talk about what they love, what they don't like, how they envision themselves, we're building a brand identity. Everyone out there has one. I don't care where you live, who you're from. You have a brand, and you just need someone to help you express your essence and to bring it out, amplify it. And that's what I do for people with branding and websites. But I was like, Dr. Raban does this for his patients too, because he helps them amplify themselves and express themselves in the best way possible. And also, you do it for your business. And it's amazing how detailed you are on your branding and how you have persuasive copy on your site, but that's just who you are as a person. You are willing to educate people, and that's your brand, is education and empowerment. And I just resonated with that as well, as I educate and empower my clients.
Yeah, and I think it's a very cool kind of analogy or a reference, is that, our goal with plastic surgery is to, I have different little analogies I use to explain what we're trying to do. One is I use the diamond analogy, which is, we're just simply taking this gorgeous diamond and we're making it shinier. We're buffing it. We're cleaning it up. It doesn't change the cut, the clarity, the color, or the carat. It is the diamond it was, except it's just brighter and shines a little bit more luminescence. I use the analogy that, the purpose of plastic surgery is to unlock and unshackle you and set your full potential as a stallion free from the thing that's holding you down. And you have this incredible thoroughbred horse within you, and there's an item, and that item happens to be a lasso that's just holding you stuck. And I am not making you into a thoroughbred. I'm removing the lasso, which allows you to then run and be free and be the full thoroughbred that you have always been. So, I think that's the concept of our brand. I never want to take credit for creating the person, but rather unleashing the person. And we want you to be your own brand. And as you had said, find your own real identity. So, yeah, hopefully that was a cool episode of branding, plastic surgery, and the likes. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. People who are listening and wondering, who is Sarah? Sarah is a patient of mine that we talked about it on another episode. We actually had a set episode about stigma and plastic surgery, and why I really enjoy having Sarah on is Sarah's had 9 procedures, and she is a stunning, beautiful woman. And you can listen to the other episode to find out about it. But, I thought, given your background in brands and also having been a patient, what a nice combination to discuss this. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Raban. Such a pleasure.
Always. As always, this wraps up another episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. We really appreciate it if you enjoy the show, you find it educational and entertaining, to go share something positive and let us know how you enjoy it. And most importantly, download and subscribe to our podcast and share it with those you love, because you absolutely have no idea who is and isn't going to have plastic surgery. And boy, would you be bummed out if they didn't have this information. Until next week, that wraps Plastic Surgery Uncensored. I'm your host, Dr. Roddy Raban.